Kia ora everybody, welcome back to another Moko walkthrough. My name is Te Haunui Tuna. Today I'm going to be talking about a piece that I did a few months ago, back in April, on the bro Kahu. As you can see here, this is, what would you call it? Probably like a half sleeve, but slotted right in the middle of the arm. So no shoulder, no lower forearm. And these were his request as well. Yeah, let's go through it. So one of the things he said to me was he didn't want it to have manaya and things like that. He wanted it pretty clean and simple, which I like. I like pretty clean, simple design work. And to represent kaitiaki, instead of using manaya, I used these. You can see them here. I like the idea of 3 and using it for taonga tukuiho to represent intergenerational knowledge, represent the things you learn from your parents, from your grandparents. And yeah, that's a real symbolic number in Māoridom. And also, like my design philosophy, if you watched these videos before, I like to have the majority of the design pretty simple and clean, and then have very few areas of difference, a few areas of contrast, so that those areas of difference, like these 3 line breaks in here, going right around the whole arm, so that those stand out a bit more. Because if you imagine I had this going right through the whole thing, although it would look nice, having just 3, having them a little bit more rare, makes them stand out a bit more. So this is a little bit of a close-up. Really, this was me, showing these forms, although they look, simple and clean and pretty straightforward. It's often these areas that are way, way, way harder to do than other areas. Because you imagine if, we're in here, and let me just say I hadn't filled those in yet as an example, and I'll show you what it would look like if I buggered it up. So those lines there, you have to have them evenly spaced, so there's even space over here, even space over here, and doing it the same for every single box that I had to fill in. Imagine if all of those are evenly spaced, and then this one here, it's a bit too close. Not as effective, or not as appealing, or nice on the eye as if the whole thing was balanced. Or if even still, what if I went just did 2? Now it just looks strange. So that was part of the challenge of doing this in this piece, was making sure that everything was all balanced. And I really took my time to get it as straight as I could. And that's a hard thing too, just to make every single line count. It's something that I value in my own mahi. Something that's doesn't get easier. It's easier than it used to be years and years and years ago, but it's still, it's still pretty hard. Have to, you really have to focus. This is just another angle of that part. Also, this part too here, instead of finishing, in a normal straight corner, which I could have done, that still looks nice there. I decided to have these curve up, and it was really as a point of difference, but also so these curves could speak to these curves here, because I knew I was going to do those. So just creating these little, I've said it before, but these little conversations between areas of the moko. There's a little, they may not even be noticeable to most people, but those are the sort of things that I think about when designing a piece. This is a close-up of the inside. Yeah, it's, pretty self-explanatory. Try to just make it as balanced and have a nice flow. And let me go back to, where is it? It's an area somewhere here. It's probably my favorite part, this part right there. I don't know why, it just looks nice to my eye. And this is another decision that I made too. Other moko artists do it as well when they do these breaks, but it's having, if I were to do it through every single part of the moko, there should be one here, but when you look at it there, it's not as pleasing to see just that little flick by itself. So that's the reason you don't do that break, because that illusion of that line continuing through sort of gets lost when you break that up, and it ends up looking like it sort of finishes here, and then you just put this little as dot or little squiggle there. Doesn't look as nice. So yeah, that's that. Also throughout, where possible, like in this one in particular, I have these mirroring each other. So you can imagine that line going right through. So I'd either do that, or let me get this color, or I'll match up. I'll just either put a horizontal line through or a vertical line through, and then I'll match them up where they finish. So there's these two, they're finished at the same place, but one's coming from the bottom, hooks up, comes from the top, hooks down. Little things like that. There was another part too, and here we've got it meeting up again, and then we've got this, so these two heads of these puhoro lining up horizontally to each other. That was on purpose. And then these two koru lining up with each other. So if you were to just isolate just this area here, you have this coming through, and it looks like these two come here like as if they were a mangopari that was connected down the bottom here somewhere. But when you look at it, they ain't. So creating those illusions of flow. And then you also have this illusion in here, which is this line sort of coming right through and finishing down the bottom. Even this one and that one, this space here similar to that space there. Just those little things. What was left? Also, let me change my color. Having this finish like that. If you've watched my videos before, I like anatomy, and the big reason is to go with the deltoid. Deltoid sort of comes down here, but it's ended up informing my design approach to arms. Is always having a flow come down the shoulder, and then straight down the arm, and kind of creating a center line from which to base my symmetry off. You've got symmetry right through this whole thing. You've got these two puhoro meeting up, matching. You've got these two matching. You've got that koru there with that one, this one with that one, those whakarare with those, those two. that symmetry going right through the whole thing, which is what I like and what I chose to do with this piece. I think that's about it. Oh, you know, you got that whakarari there, which I've already talked about. And then, oh no, actually, so if you look at it too, you can imagine there's these curves here, there's those ones there, you know, kind of opposing curves all the way through up this whole thing. You know, got that one there, that one, which is the same as that. So it's kind of like, you know, you can imagine curves going through the whole thing. So it's kind of got that flow in, and you know, it's reiterated even more with the puhoro design. And then contrast that with all of these vertical high and pakati and, you know, horizontal lines. So, you know, there's that contrast between curves, you know, more organic feeling, to more rigid horizontal and vertical designs throughout the whole thing. So yeah, I think that's about it for this one. This one was a pretty simple design, but although it's simple, there are certain areas throughout the whole thing to talk about. Hope you fellas enjoyed this video. I appreciate you fellas for watching. Yeah, more to come. My name is Te Tuna. Mauri ora.